love you so.
David.
Oh, what?
We have a review.
Damn it, Obama!
David.
What?
Who is John Galt?
You know, as far as I can fucking tell, I'm John Galt.
No, David.
Okay.
We are all John Galt.
Then John Galt watched a movie today.
Atlas. Shrugged. Part 1.
Yes, part 1.
They felt that this movie deserved
The Hobbit
the
treatment.
part treatment.
The Hobbit treatment. Oh, God. Okay, so Atlas Shrugged.
The movie, 40 years in the making.
For all of those who don't know what Atlas Shrugged is, which, good for you, it is a book written by...
A bitch named Anne Rand.
Who wrote it, and a lot of people are kind of on its case because it's basically saying fuck the poor. Just fuck.
Now that's her ideology, her centralized philosophy in general through all of her books.
Big business is the way to go.
Now, usually, I try to keep politics out of this. And this has nothing to do with politics, actually. This is socioeconomics. Ayn Rand is a cunt.
Okay.
And all of her books are written in a very cunty way. She is cunting all of the time. She's as much of a cunt as Stieg Larsson is when he's writing the Millennium books. There, I've said it. Now let's move on. Plot. Do you even want to go with plot? You want me to take this one?
No. I want to take my shot at it.
Okay.
Then you can come in.
Okay.
As never having read the book myself.
And I read it a while ago because I've kept my distance.
I never gave a shit about Atlas Shrugged. I just heard that it sucked when it came out, and though it had to make part 2, they didn't want to make part 2. So let me try to give you the layman's version here. It's the not too distant future, and government is taking control of big businesses, and these big businesses are trying to do a railroad thing because stuff and steel is happening, and so they make a railroad. But all these things are battling, and there's different corporation deals and stuff like that until eventually they make a railroad and it's safe. But then there's this man named John Galt. Who is he? I don't fucking know. But he takes the people that are rich and he takes them out of society because reasons. And then the one lady, I actually don't know her name. What's her name? Taggart? I'm going to say Taggart. Taggart sounds right. Taggart.
That's her last name.
I'm fucking going with it. Taggart. She is our protagonist as she makes these deals and tries to make this railroad to keep her company, Taggart Rail Stuff, afloat. If it sounds boring, it is. It's a bunch of rich people whining about rich people problems. Now, if I missed something important, tell me. Only part 1, though. Don't go into part 2.
I know, more or less. You got pretty much everything else right, yeah.
Good.
I mean, that's one of the fundamental flaws about the book itself. Alright, the centralized philosophy of this book.
And Ayn Rand.
And Ayn Rand. But in this book, thus translating into the movie, is that because things are getting so bad, that the rich people are just picking up and going.
Yeah, just leaving.
And they're basically
Fucking.
kind of saying, it's like, see how it is without me, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's basically saying that, and I'm not going to get too far into the whole of the book and whatnot, because we're going to get to that, but it's the fact that the rich people are going to be the saviors of the story here.
Oh, of course.
Not the people who laid down the railroad. Not the people who are driving the railroad.
Fuck 'em.
Not all the people who are doing all the fucking paperwork involved with making this fucking railroad and everything on the railroad actually fucking runs. No, it's the rich people. It's the rich people. Poor rich people. Alright, maybe it's because we're not. But I got a problem with movies that literally trying to say that rich people, regardless of what they're doing and how they are, because none of these characters are relatable at all. Regardless of who these types of people are, they are going to be the heroes regardless. They start off kind of weird, and then they abandon society, and then they end up saving it and whatnot because, yay, we need it and whatnot. And
part one.
monetary caste system.
Part one, motherfucker.
That's all in part one.
No, it isn't.
That's the philosophy behind everything in
Part one. They just leave. They don't come back to save anything.
No, because the thing is, it's alluding to that. It's the fact that...
We'll get to it in part two. Anyway, here's the thing. This movie, the characters. Let's focus on just the characters. You're getting to the characters. Fuck these people. Fuck these people. I think I remember one name. And that name was Ellis.
John Galt.
Well, of course, fucking John Galt. But I don't
John
know.
Galt.
Who is John Galt? Oh, he's a dude in a hat. No.
And they stallions and mules, the people.
Yeah, we couldn't call it anything else.
Because we
couldn't call it Boondock Saints.
Tons of more movies did that before Boondocks.
No, these characters, I don't care to list them individually, as we normally do. These characters are so just single-minded on making money, like it's the most important thing in the world.
One character actually just says that.
Yeah, like it's the most important thing in the world.
It's like, people think that you're just all about making money. I am all about making money.
Well, you're not supposed to say it.
I thought that was funny, but at the same time, though, like, it doesn't make him relatable because it's not witty. It's true.
Yeah, if you make witty observations about your characters being douches, and then continue to make your characters being douches, then your characters are still douches. You can observe that they're douches as much as you want. They're still douches.
See, the problem with this movie, this is Bret Easton Ellis trying to make a moral to how these people behave. See, Bret Easton Ellis is known for writing movies all about the 80s yuppie culture. And their movies like Less Than Zero, books that got translated into movies, at least some of them did. Basically, Less Than Zero, The Rules of Attraction, American Psycho, all these books that are basically making fun of the fact that these people are so tied into themselves that they absolutely notice nothing wrong with the rest of the world. This is taking this movie is taking that idea, that perspective on life, and saying that this is fine. There's even this one scene where the protagonist character, her brother comes in. It's like, don't you care about any underdeveloped or underprivileged people and whatnot? She's like, no.
No, I think the exact thing was like, have you ever felt any emotion? And he's like, no, I don't feel anything.
I'm like, that is a sociopath.
Yes, you have issues, lady.
The fact that you do not feel, the fact that you feel no emotion at all, that's actually a psychopath. That's dangerous. That's not supposed to be an endearing characteristic.
No, Matthew. That's business. Oh.
Well, to be fair, actually, yes. The mental profile of a lot of these multi-millionaires, a lot of multi-billionaires and whatnot, who are all these kind of dog-eat-dog crap, which actually they have an act called that in the movie, they actually have mental profiles of sociopaths. It's kind of crazy.
Thank you for explaining the joke. So... Anyway,
kill you.
Back to the characters. I'm trying to think of any single character that kind of stood out, but all of them were essentially the same person.
They're all self-serving, maniacal, egotistical, rich people.
Yeah. Even then, it's like, we made the thing. In the thing that you would expect to show some humanity, their fucking love life, their romantic life, they're fucking robots. What was it? There's one scene where Captain of Industry 1's trying to hook up with Captain of Industry 2, and she's like, so what do you want to do now? And he's like, well, I'd like to kiss you. And she's like, well, what's stopping you? And then
fade.
Yeah, fade
into the bedroom. They're kissing.
Leave again.
They're kissing. They're kissing in the bed now. Still fully clothed. Yeah. Now they're partially clothed, kissing on the bed. Now they're simulating sex, even though no one's actually moving on the bed. Still doing it. And now in each other's arms. All in missionary position. This is...
They implied...
Do conservatives really have seriously that much bad sex that literally they can only tell it in flashes?
They imply passion without ever actually having passion.
They actually also imply passing time, which we don't buy.
Yeah.
We think it was all passing in real time. And I think that was just whenever a car would pass the window, and you had that the light just kind of go by and light up the room just momentarily. That's what was happening.
All right.
So that would make a more interesting scene than what actually happened.
So the characters are dicks, but we need to get to the one character that this movie essentially revolves around. Who is John Galt, Matthew?
And he's explained at the end that he's a guy taking the rich people away to their own little paradise because the government's playing mean and causing restrictions, and they're losing a little bit of money.
What's that? Government stepping in? We can help you avoid that.
And I really don't give a flying fuck about any of these people.
You know,
I mean, there are one movie that actually has nothing but rich people in it for the most part.
Titanic.
I hate that movie. Don't try to. No, it's actually Meet Joe Black. Speaking of a Brad Pitt movie, I actually really enjoy Meet Joe Black. And Brad Pitt and Anthony Hopkins are in it.
Let me stop you right there. Speaking of a Brad Pitt movie, I said Titanic.
Yeah, that's why I said.
Titanic is Leonardo DiCaprio.
Whatever the fuck it is.
What the fuck?
I don't give a flying fuck.
All right.
Either way, the movie's bad.
Yes.
But the thing is, though, Meet Joe Black is all about these rich. Basically, the majority of the characters are these rich, really, really privileged people. But at the same time, there's human aspects to them. It's not all business. The funny thing is, the character who is all business is all about being the underdog, uppercutting, all the other type of people and all that jazz, and double crossing everyone. Is the one who's all about business, and he's the villain in the story. I find that actually kind of funny.
Right, I forgot we're still talking about Meet Joe Black.
I know, but into this story, they're trying to, the two main characters that this is supposed to be about, and especially that one scene where you see him having to sign off all of his extra companies in order to keep the medal. I'm like, boo-hoo!
Let me. In the movie, the government's just like, hey, big business.
Can't own more than one company.
Yeah. Guess what? You with the shirt, you can only have one company to your name. And it can only be in one industry, apparently, because fuck you. So all these masters of industry, the ones who have, what's that? Fuel? Coal? Yes? Other stuff? Where's my cow farm? It's over there. I'm selling that too. So they only keep the one that's making the most money, so that smaller business...
Well, it's not really making the most money, it's the one that he's
got the most stake in.
It's his and whatnot. I get that. It's like, I've created this, and it's mine, and whatnot. But the thing is, though, I saw you looking out at the giant factory that's really building your shit, and you're not doing jack.
You mind if I... Why don't we care about these characters? You may think we're focusing on the characters for a while. It's because they are really the entire story. The plot doesn't fucking matter. Not yet, at least.
The plot really hasn't gotten going yet. Yeah. We're really only about maybe of a third to almost halfway through the book at this point.
Fuck it. You aren't supposed to make a part one.
And they're leaving a lot of shit out, too, which I am grateful.
You're not supposed to make a fucking movie without a fucking, climax. There was nothing building at this point. It's like, oh, look, they made the train. Oh, look, something's going mildly wrong.
No, the climax was the end of the movie.
That's not... No.
It's the revelation of who John Galt is, what he's doing, and what exactly happens because of that.
Whenever there's a 2-part or 3-part or fucking 15-part thing, whenever it ends on the climax, I never view that as a climax. I view that as a tune in next week for the exciting conclusion.
It's a cliffhanger.
It's not a climax. It's more of a cliffhanger.
Yeah, but the thing is, in the actual tale of the actual movie, and when it comes down to the story arc of the actual movie, and you have to piece both pieces together, this is the point in which the climax, that the most upward peak of the movie is taking place.
Alright, well, hold on. Real quick, I want to go into something, and then I'll come back to that. The reason we can't relate to these characters is because it doesn't have one of... It isn't necessary, but it fucking helps. The fucking fish out of water character. The one who's taken to be the audience avatar, the one they can relate to, that it's like, oh, I was thrown into these circumstances.
The Billy Peltzer of the story.
The fucking Luke Skywalker of the story. The one where it's like, I'm just your average guy, and I'm thrust into these extraordinary circumstances. No, all these fucking people have been in this life for so fucking long.
And we have no idea what they're talking about. Unless you know exactly what this is.
You know business.
Let's do business!
No, but the going back to the climax thing, it's the problem I had with the Hobbit trilogy. Well, the 2 films that are out at this point.
I still haven't seen Desolation of Smaug yet.
Okay, then I won't mention how it ends.
Well, I've read The Hobbit.
You make a good point.
I've read The Hobbit more times than I can count.
If you haven't seen
it's the best Lord of the Rings book.
If you haven't seen Desolation of Smaug, then leave or fast forward, please. The whole way that I can't remember how the first one. No, the first one ends with the orc thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then it kind of. In fact, I don't even need like Harry Potter. The orc thing, it had its climax. It was a pretty weak climax, but it was a climax where they were battling these orcs and these eagles came, and then they rested on that rock and gave you a minute. It's like, and now we can continue on. It wasn't a matter of just like, tune in to see how they escaped this orc battle. No, they escaped the orc battle and they're just like, okay.
Well, that's a problem I have with the Hobbit movie, because I wasn't excited for the next part.
Here's the thing, though.
There was no tension. There was no reason for me to want to keep going.
I'll give you that, but it's just, alright, here's the different thing I had. When it came to the second movie, there was it goes right up to the end of them battling Smaug. Because they have a whole fucking battle with Smaug. Bet you didn't know that in the book.
Yeah, of course.
No, I'm not talking about the men fighting Smaug. I'm talking about the dwarves themselves inside the dwarf fortress.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't think that was in the book. All right. So they are literally dying, and then Smaug's just like, you know what? Fuck your shit. I'm gonna destroy that man town over there. And then Bilbo's like, shit. Pretty much. That one, it built up and just left the cliffhanger. It didn't really have a climax that whole time. It was, I mean, don't get me wrong, the battle between Smaug and them was okay, but it was so long that it didn't really climax. It was just kind of there as a scene. That one I had a problem with because it just kind of like flatlined, and it's like, oh, now you have to wait a year for the next film.
Well, that's one of the reasons that it's a real problem for part movies. Now, actually, from Atlas Shrugged was that they didn't originally want to do it in 2 parts. They wanted to do it as one full movie.
5 hours. Right?
Well, the only reason that it came out in 2 parts is A, is because of the length, and B, because the release for this movie was so poor that actually, like, it was funny that even people up and down the political spectrum, because people on the right side have like fucking immortalized and idolized Ayn Rand's work to almost saint-like proportions. It's actually really creepy. Remember there was that one group of really rich people that tried to actually make their own little micro-country in the middle of fucking Lake Erie or something like that, and they were basically trying to make an Atlas Shrugged situation where they would all move there and like isolate themselves. It's fucking ridiculous. But the thing is, though, this movie took 40 years to get made, went through development hell so many goddamn times, and everybody across the political spectrum doesn't like this movie. Even Republicans. Even, like, die-hard conservatives are like, what the fuck is up with this movie?
Bad movies span generations.
Bad movies will cover all political spectrums. It will cross all boundaries. It will unite the human race. The hatred of bad movies.
We are doing a service here.
We are trying our humanitarian jobs. We're the last humanists.
We're a non-profit.
We are the last humanists that we are trying to unite the species of mankind together with a mutual hatred for shitty films. And this is a movie that was made off of a shitty book. I don't care what you think about Ayn Rand's philosophy. As a writer, she sucked.
See, I could never translate because people have made the thing of like, J.K. Rowling. They say she's not a good writer per se, but she can tell fantastic stories.
See, I've only heard one person ever said that.
We're thinking of the same person.
And you're probably... So you're only thinking of that one...
No.
Have you heard anybody say that other than him?
Yes, I actually have.
See, I haven't.
Okay.
And whatnot. Like, that's the only time... Like, the only time I've ever heard that.
I haven't heard it in those words, but yes, I have heard that general thing.
But also, he was comparing J.K. Rowling to Stephanie Meyer.
Point being, when it comes to movie adaptations, because the Harry Potter movies, most part...
And you know who you are.
Harry Potter movies, for the most part, were good.
No, not in my opinion.
Alright, well, I think they are.
In the movies, no. The only good ones are the first 2 and the last 2.
Okay, well, fine, then that's that. But what I'm saying is, like, when it comes down to like, writing style and stuff like that, it doesn't matter how it translates to film. It all depends on, like, the director's vision and how he takes the story and translates it over. Any words that are used, anything like that, doesn't matter.
It also depends on how much control the original writer has over the merger. I mean, Ayn Rand's dead, thank God. But I don't even believe in God. Thank him anyway. She's fucking gone.
Had to get that atheist thing in there.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, like, I mean, J.K. Rowling had a lot of final say on the Harry Potter movies, which is what strikes me interesting about some of the choices. But at the same time, though, I don't know exactly who had control over Ayn Rand's estate on this movie.
All first-year political science students.
I don't fucking give a shit. I mean, political stuff aside, this movie, like, alright, going back to the actual film itself.
Let's talk about technical aspects.
The director hasn't done anything else, not to my knowledge. I haven't really looked too far into it, but at the same time, like, he's also the same guy who did Part 2. He also plays John Galt in this movie.
Out of necessity.
Because the original person, apparently, who they got to play John Galt, which is a role that is completely shrouded in shadow, literally, that he had to step in and play the part himself.
See, I don't have a problem with that. I think if you can't...
Oh, I don't have a problem with that. I've done that.
He doesn't... He's not like totally like, holy shit, is that guy fucking acting or is he just shouting lines? What the fuck is he doing?
Yeah,
no, he was decent as John Galt.
I mean, there's not much to say about it.
Let's talk about...
It was mostly voiceover.
Talk about the technical aspects of this.
Technical aspects...
Because we've been talking so much about, like, the meta of the movie, the plot of the movie.
Well, that's exactly the whole reasons why it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a shit plot.
Because the actual... It's just like the Twilight movies. No matter how well the movies was made and how well the movie was cast, I recognize, like, literally almost every cast member in this fucking movie.
Oh, yes, he did.
Yeah, every single time someone casts it, alright, I know that guy, people from Mulholland Drive, all sorts of goddamn shit. But, like, the thing is, no matter how well you cast a movie, no matter how well you can adapt a movie, no matter how well you can shoot a movie or direct a movie, if the material in which you're working with is shit, then you're going to get shit out of it. I mean, there's only so much you can do to improve a material to a point at which that it's absolutely unrecognizable. And especially a material like this, which is held so goddamn dearly by so many people, there's no way in hell you'd be able to really, really adjust the material from the original source material that much, which is one of the reasons why I find it hysterical that so many people hate this movie, considering how so many goddamn lines in this movie are really lifted right from the book.
See, what I feel like is, ever since the advent of, like, major social media stuff, filmmakers as a whole have been very unwilling to remove, like, anything from a book or change it to a major sense. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because people are just so much easier to bitch and just say, like, no, they fucked up everything about the book. Do not go see this movie if you like the book. Whereas they rely, back in the old times, before social media and whatnot, in the dark ages of man, they...
The 90s.
Yes. They relied on, like, just like, oh, I read this book, and now they're making it into a movie, I should go see that movie. Not knowing that it wasn't the same fucking thing.
Well, also, though, like, it was the critical community was way more relied on at that point, and a lot of critics would do that, base things. But at the same time, though, like, you have to take adaptations with a grain of salt, because never... Like, actually, one of the most recent adaptations I went and saw was the adaptation of The Book Thief. And I saw it on Christmas Eve, and The Book Thief is one of my, like, Marcus Zuzak, who wrote the original book, he's also wrote the book I Am the Messenger, or just simply The Messenger, which is my favorite book of all time. And The Book Thief is an insanely well-written book, but it's really hard to adapt that to screen. And they did a very decent job at it, but at the same time, they were trying to be too respectful to certain aspects of the material in which that they neutered it. And that was a major problem with me. But at the same time, it was and also they fucked up the ending, too. But the thing is, though, that's a way that you can adapt the work. There are very few movies that I've seen that have really, really closely adapted the work down to, like, the page. The first two Harry Potter movies are one that was almost literally lifted right from the pages.
Back in those days, back when I was, like, I had the books in hand as I was watching the films, I was able to, like, turn the page. Admittedly, I had to, like, skip sections of paragraphs and, like, entire chapters at one point or another. But
I mean, you can't include all the information.
For the most part, I was like, oh, so we were just going ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba.
If you want to include all the information in a book, you got to make a television show out of it. That's what Game of Thrones has got it right.
Game of Thrones doesn't catch everything. It catches most everything.
No,
but
yeah,
not everything.
but it follows the books pretty goddamn close.
Exactly.
And that's a pretty interesting thing too, because sometimes the books can get really laggy.
And this one, it follows the book. It gets it, for as far as I can tell from what you're saying, but it's a matter of the book fucking suck.
Well, I mean, of course, and this is the funny thing is too, when Atlas Shrugged first came out, now it's being heralded as Ayn Rand's magnum opus. When it first came out, it got horrible reviews. People pissed all over it because it was a bad book.
To be fair, I have never written a book. Anything I write at this point...
I have written a book.
Anything I write at this point will be my magnum opus. It doesn't mean
well,
it's good.
she had written several books before this point.
How were they received?
Okay. I mean, like,
fine,
The Fountainhead was her best received book to that point, and that wasn't much better. But the thing is, yeah, like, I mean, we're spending more time talking about the actual source material because the movie itself, I mean, that's its fundamental flaw. It's an averagely made movie.
It's just fucking
the
masturbation to Anne Rick.
Well, no, it's not even that, really. Because the thing is, though, if it was really that, they would have done everything.
Wow.
Everything to make you like these people. They're called adaptations for a reason. You can add and take away different elements in order to make things feel more personable because you can't directly translate a character right from the pages to the screen because they're two different ways of viewing the character.
One allows you to completely get inside their head. The other one requires as much as the actor can show on their face, unless you break the fourth wall, but that's directorial choice.
I mean, it's all about subtleties and all that. And these characters, some of the lines are so stiff. And I don't blame the actors, because the cast they got was relatively well, and I think some of the cast is here just because they need a paycheck. I mean, this movie itself didn't really cost that much. I don't think it was all that expensive, to be honest. Actually, it was way more than I think that anyone should have spent on ever trying to make a movie version of this book. But at the same time, yeah, all in all, I mean, I'm pretty much out of things to say.
Final thoughts at all?
My final thoughts, basically, and obviously we have more final thoughts to go through after we come to the second movie, but at the same time, though, this movie is just, it's a whole bunch of rich people trying to stay rich and powerful and then getting pissed off that they can't, because other rich and powerful people are making it hard for the original rich and powerful people to stay rich and powerful, even though in the entire beginning of the movie, the rich and powerful people were trying to get rid of other rich and powerful people to make themselves even more rich and powerful. So in other words, these people are just cunts. This is the Odd Life of Timothy Green level here. Okay, all the characters are cunts. They're cunting all around, and I don't like them. Your move.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Yeah, you were. You do not.
No, you were describing a fucking plot, and it's just made me as bored as the fucking movie. That's how I feel about it. It's fucking. Look, if I wanted to watch C-SPAN for 3.5 hours,
C-SPAN is more. C-SPAN's porn compared to this.
I'll give you that. But it's just so
It's
fucking boring.
At least something's being accomplished.
I want to just say, I don't care if you like Anne Rand and agree with what she says. I don't care if you hate Anne Rand and don't agree with what she says. I don't care at all your political opinion. This is a boring fucking movie. This movie, I tried so hard not to be on my iPhone and iPad throughout this entire fucking thing. Oh my god. That could have a movie made out of it. My struggle not to use my fucking electronics. Because that has more interest than anything that these people fucking do up until like the last 10 minutes. At that point when it's like, oh hey, everything's groovy, and then I'm taking you to Atlantis. It's all fucking like fuck. No, it's a boring fucking movie. The characters are fucking unlikable as all hell. They don't fucking do anything that anybody can fucking relate to.
Except for really rich people.
Really rich people don't have time, apparently, to watch this. They're too busy fucking other rich people.
Yeah, everybody fucks everybody in this movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the only person
or is these implied?
The only person who didn't get fucked in this movie was, like, the diner waitress. As far as we know.
Oh, she got fucked.
Damn straight.
Totally. Right out back by some trucker.
Point being, don't watch this film. Don't watch the part 2.
Yeah, because we're going to say the same thing about that one.
Whenever the fuck we
we're gonna get to the moral of the story
Well, fuck.
in the second
If
one.
the moral of the
See, you're gonna now finally understand Ayn Rand's preaching.
I'm gonna hope the moral of the story is something along the lines like rich people aren't actually that bad. It's like,
They're
oh, really?
God.
Yeah, I hope not. If it is that, I might break down next time. Alright, you know what? My final words, just a few of them. Just fight. Are we gonna have to refilm all that?
No.
Just shut off the fucking recording. We'll cut it back later. Who is it?